So welcome, Nichola. Thanks for coming to join us to talk through. Welcome, Nichola. Thanks for coming to join us today at Adoption Tees Valley to talk about your adoption journey. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your family?
So I am Nichola, and I'm a single adopter. I adopted Autumn. Well, she came to me sort of 4 years ago. It was 2 weeks before her first birthday, and and then the adoption went through a year later.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about your experiences. Can you recall back to when you were first thinking about the adoption process and what your sort of research and your confidence was like as a single person at the time?
Yeah, I think initially I hadn't really thought of adoption, and then an ad popped up and I realised you could be a single adopter.
Okay.
I don't know if, it was commonly known then that you could adopt as a single person. So that was good. And then, just going from there.
Did you do your own research first? Did you know anybody that had adopted?
I think I knew one person, and yes, I did go around and talk to them. Looked at a lot of things on the internet, looked at lots of forums, things like that.
And do you remember how you selected your adoption agency?
It was literally an advert.
Okay.
And I sort of went with that, went along to an open night and chatted it through. But yeah, I think by then I'd pretty much decided. Yeah.
And did you think there was any barriers to adopting as a single person?
No, not at all.
Good.
No,
Okay.
no. It more sort of made me realise you could do that and it was fine. I think it was me who had that barrier. Yeah.
So if you were explaining the assessment process, how would you, looking back now, how would you describe that? How did that go?
I enjoyed that.
Okay.
People used to say when you were chatting that some people find it a bit intrusive, but I didn't. I quite enjoyed it, and I think for me, just sitting down and looking at your life and assessing your life, I just realised how nice it was. And it was a good thing to do. I think you take a lot of the things you have in your life for granted, and I enjoyed sitting and looking at my life and seeing what I could actually bring that I hadn't thought of to an adopted child.
And we say that we're getting to know you so that we can match you suitably.
Absolutely.
Could you see that there was that going on as well?
Most definitely. Yeah.
So when it came to your matching process, how did you visualise that would take place as opposed to how it did take place?
For me, initially it took a long time, and then I changed over to you. I was with a different agency and then changed to you. And then that, obviously I had Kirsty as my social worker, and it was great. I think when I first came to you, I was a bit desperate by that time, and I was trying to fit into you, what I thought would help to get me a child. So I was changing my ideas of the things I wanted. I started thinking, shall I have siblings? Shall I do this? And Kirsty was, no, you're fine. Stick with what you would like. Don't change your mind, and you will get there. And yeah, I felt really supported in that.
And that's really important, that you stick to your beliefs and be true to yourself. It's really important.
Your idea of what you can offer, because there's limits on different people and different limits.
And the wait for adopters that are approved is sometimes a really challenging phase that we can't always explain. Do you know how you manage that? Did you use your supports? Did you confide in your close family, friends about the waiting process?
Yes, I did. Talked about it a lot. I did feel like my life was on hold, and I know they say don't, but you can't help it because you are waiting for that phone call. I'm sure some people will be able to just think, well, everything's done. I'll just get on with life until it happens. But for me, I did wait, and and I felt conscious of that.
And the wait, sometimes adopters say to us that it's worth the wait. It's about getting the right child. It's about the right match.
Yeah. Because once I came here, I didn't actually wait that long. I had a long wait before then. But now, I think the child I have, I'm glad it took that time, and I had all the little obstacles which you are so frustrating at the time, but in the long run those obstacles meant that I got Autumn, and I'm absolutely fine with them now, and it's all forgotten. Yeah.
So your advice to other adopters waiting right now, what would it be?
Just trust the process, go with your gut instinct, because you will get the right child. You will. Yeah.
Excellent.
Or children.
Yeah. Or children. Yeah. So would there be anything you would do differently in the assessment process or the adoption process?
In the adoption, I would come with you straight away. I think local authority is definitely the way to go. I know sometimes you hear some stories that you'll have children that you don't feel comfortable forced upon you because they've got a job to do, but it's not like that at all. I never felt pressured here. I felt like you had both interests at heart, and that you just wanted to get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel, Nichola, that you've faced any challenges as a single parent?
No, I don't actually.
Okay,
no,
very positive about that.
Yeah, no. Obviously, it is important to have a good network of extended family, especially during illness times.
Yeah.
I've needed that. Yeah, it's hard if your child's vomiting up the wall and you're you want to comfort them, but you've got to clean up as well. You need to have people you can call on to come and help.
Yeah.
You do need that. But
yeah. And has there been any, you've said you've not seen any barriers as being a single parent. Have you ever needed any additional support in understanding her identity or her background to help her manage that? Yeah, I know she's still young.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
What I would say initially, though, when you are looking at a profile, I found that whatever I asked Kirsty for as my social worker, I always had that information so fast. It was brilliant. So I was able to, I wasn't left for weeks wondering about something. There was always that information very quickly.
So that's gathering things around her background, so her health profile,
health and
a background history with the family, understanding her early childhood experiences.
But since then, no, because I feel I had all the information initially.
So at Adoption Tees Valley, we offer ongoing support in the form of post-adoption support. It's available to all of our adoptive families. Do you just want to describe how that impacts on you or not?
We haven't needed any additional support at all, but I am aware that is there, and I never would have hesitated to pick up the phone and say what I needed and ask for help. Absolutely, I always knew that you were there. Still get the newsletters. Still, I like to keep up with what's happening here. Via the emails and things, but I haven't needed anything. But I know even in the future it is always there.
So we're approaching our 5th anniversary in May, and we're asking our families that were one of the first how life has been since you adopted your daughter. So if you were just describing that to me, how would you describe your last 4 or 5 years?
It was just it's absolutely brilliant. I remember before adopting sort of sitting and thinking about, it sounds silly, but imagining a little child in your house or whatever, or in the car next to you, or just being there, and you just cannot imagine how brilliant it's going to be, and it just totally exceeds any expectation. It just brings so much love and joy and just so exciting, fun. It's lovely.
And what do you think adoption has taught you?
It's a bit different for me because I never had this huge sort of thing to bring a life into the world. For me, adopting was to take someone from another unfortunate time or situation and bring them into my lovely world. Just don't.
But it's fulfilled that.
Absolutely.
Fulfilled
just
that.
wanted to be a mummy, and
Yeah.
it really has, and it's just been brilliant.
And can you think of any key milestones that you've celebrated together?
Oh, everything. Yeah, everything. When she came 2 weeks before our first birthday, and I remember, obviously that's a massive whirlwind, those first 2 weeks, and then it was like, you do know it's her birthday on Friday, don't you? Oh my goodness. So that was huge. But yeah, just all the Christmases and all of those things, going to school and...
we kind of talk to adopters about not overdoing it in them first, early days. Did that advice help, or did you just find your own way anyway?
Just found it anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I just couldn't wait to have a home and just to bond, get to know each other. That's all it's about, really. I suppose, obviously the run up when you're doing your...
The introductions.
Yeah, the introductions. So that is, that does definitely help. And by the time they come to you, I think you have started that bond. And it just sort of grows from there. Obviously, we had the pandemic not long after Autumn came, and that was a brilliant time for us just to spend that time together. Yeah, I would say whatever time you can take, if you work, whatever time you can take, do take as much as you can.
So what are your hopes for the next 5 years?
Hopes?
Yeah.
I just hope it continues as it is, because it's so lovely. I know obviously things change over time, and just I think as long as we do it together and we're kind with each other, and we just face things together. Whatever challenges that come up, we will face together.
And obviously life story is important, and identity is important. Do you play out those conversations in your mind? And
I do.
Yeah.
What I do is just sort of drip feed it into everyday conversation, just of whatever is appropriate at the time. Obviously that'll get more and more and more the older she gets. We're on a very low level at the moment. She's only 5. But yeah, she does know. And yeah, I don't want it to be that big thing.
Reveal.
I just want it to, it's a part of who she is, and
So your adoption process, do you want to just outline that experience for you in terms of timescales, and were you surprised by any aspect of that?
It was very, very quick. I think it was 9 months from coming to you that Autumn was with me. I remember there was a couple of profiles I looked at, but Kirsty was very good, as in she sat with me and we discussed and looked at the profiles together. It's something that I hadn't even noticed. Kirsty sort of brought to my attention and said, what about this? This doesn't really fit with your family. And when she said it, I thought, yeah, she's right, it doesn't. And so she said, right, well, we'll draw a line in the sand there and just wait. And then, I remember getting Autumn's profile and being very scared to look.
Right, yeah.
I think I just put it to the side and actually, but yeah, very quickly. I would definitely say go with your gut instinct. People say, oh, you'll know when it's the one, and I didn't really believe that at all. But it's true. I can remember driving along in the car not long after having Autumn's profile and looking at it all. And I just remember saying to my mum, do you know her? And she said, yeah, I do. And I went, yeah, I do. I just felt like I knew her. And yeah, I just knew it was right.
There was a connection straight away.
There was, yeah.
I loved the background.
I didn't even notice again.
I know, you switch off, don't you?
Switch off.